Our today's story is like to explain an Italian fantasy and superhero movie called The Invisible Boy. At the beginning of the movie, we see a boy named Michele Silenzi riding his bicycle to his school in Trieste, Italy. He carries a €50 bill with which he plans to buy a costume for a party at school. He sits behind his lifelong crush, Stella. His class is interrupted by a police officer named Giovanna, who is also Michele's mother. She is there to ask about the disappearance of a student. Giovanna asks the class to inform the police if they hear anything about the missing student. After she leaves, Michele gets a nosebleed and runs to the bathroom. His bullies, who have been bothering him for a long time, threaten him to hand over all his money. He returns home discouraged by the incident, takes out some coins he had saved, and decides to buy something with the money. Later, Michele visits a shop that looks rusty and asks for a superhero costume. The shop owner gives him a tight-fitting suit and a very cheap cape. He assures him that it is the suit of a Chinese superhero. Michele doesn't seem to like the costume but buys it anyway. When Giovanna returns home from work, she sees Michele with his costume, refusing to go to the party because he thinks he looks ridiculous. She assures him that he looks fine and sends him to the party. There, Michele has fun and even talks to his crush, Stella. But then his bullies show a video of Stella walking down the street. They claim the video was found on Michele's phone and that he has been spying on Stella. An embarrassed Michele runs to the bathroom and locks himself in. All his classmates bang on the door from the outside, asking him to open it. Michele is frustrated and wishes he were invisible. Just before the lights go out. In the next scene, we see him jumping out of the bathroom window and returning home. The next morning, Michele wakes up to his dog barking at him. He doesn't pay much attention and goes to the bathroom to brush his teeth. When he looks in the mirror, Michele is completely shocked to see only his robe and the toothbrush. His body is invisible in the mirror. Michele runs out and takes off his robe. Just at that moment, his mother enters and completely ignores him, proving that only Michele can see himself. She starts looking around, so Michele quickly writes on a piece of paper that he has gone to school early and places it on the bed. Giovanna reads it and dismisses the matter. After leaving the room, she calls Michele on his phone. An invisible Michele answers and tells her he is okay. Confused about what to do next, he puts on long-sleeved clothes, covering every part of his body, and goes to school, observing Stella from afar. Michele then notices his bully and plans to teach him a lesson for bothering him so much. He takes off his clothes and enters the school naked and invisible. During class, he takes the bully's paintball gun and uses it against the teacher, causing the teacher to suspend the bully. Then Michele heads to the girls' locker room and watches them undress. Well, it didn't take him long. Suddenly, a towel falls on him, making his silhouette evident to everyone. At that moment, his powers begin to fade, and he becomes visible again. The girls scream upon seeing a naked Michele under the towel. The next day, Michele is in his class where a psychologist named Basile is giving a talk about teenagers' mental health. 2 of Michele's classmates have run away from home in the last month, so he considers it necessary to understand teenagers' way of thinking. While Michele is listening to the talk, his hands begin to glow and suddenly disappear. Fortunately, the class ends, and he runs outside before anyone can see him disappear. He runs home, covering all parts of his body, and sees his little sister, Candela, in his room. Michele asks her to go downstairs while he turns towards the wall. A suspicious Candela opens and closes the door to make him believe she has left. Michele doesn't turn around to check and starts to take off his clothes. When he turns around, Candela screams in terror upon seeing that her brother is invisible. Michele calms her down and tells her that his costume has given him superpowers. Meanwhile, at the police station, the psychiatrist Basile works with Giovanna to investigate the children's disappearance. Giovanna insists that the children might have been kidnapped, but Basile argues that they are just being rebellious, which is normal for their age. When Giovanna returns home, Michele is still invisible. Giovanna talks to someone on the phone, revealing that Michele is adopted. A surprised and hurt Michele leaves the house and goes to a nearby swing. While he is swinging, Stella arrives and thinks Michele is a ghost. She doesn't seem scared and instead asks him to be her friend. He draws a smiling face in the sand to communicate with her. The two decide to meet again. After Stella leaves, Michele sees a man nearby looking at him, even though he is invisible. The man walks away using a cane, revealing that he is blind. At night, Michele visits Stella's house. Stella is delighted to have an invisible friend. The two kiss, but at that moment, Michele's powers begin to fade. He runs away before Stella can see his face. Later, Stella is alone in her gym class when a needle goes through her back, causing her to fall unconscious. Meanwhile, Michele has decided to tell Stella that he is the invisible boy. He heads to her gym class with his dog. When he arrives at the building, he sees a masked man carrying Stella. Michele attacks the man, and the dog bites his hand. However, the man manages to escape with the girl. Later, the police arrive at the scene. They discover that the missing children had not run away but had been kidnapped. Stella wakes up in a strange facility with her head connected to several cables. The psychiatrist Basile is there interrogating her. It turns out that he is the one who has been kidnapping the children. They perform some tests on the girl and then send her to a cell. Two of her friends who had disappeared before her are also there. The next day, Michele is alone on a nearby beach when suddenly the blind man from the previous day appears in front of him. The man answers all of Michele's questions before he can even ask them. It's as if he can read minds. When Michele asks who he is, the man reveals that his name is Andrea and that he is Michele's father. The boy doesn't believe Andrea and accuses him of lying. Then Andrea begins to tell his story. He used to be a normal man from a small town in Russia until a devastating nuclear explosion hit the town. The radiation killed many people and caused a permanent change in others. It caused their DNA to mutate, giving them special human abilities like flying, telepathy, invisibility, etc. These people were called the specials, and were taken to a military camp called the division, to be used as weapons. The division used them beyond their capacity. The more power the specials used, the weaker they became. Another side effect was that they were all infertile, except for Andrea and Michele's mother. The two had Michele, who was the first special child. But as soon as he was born, he was taken away. So the parents decided to flee with Michele and were successful. But the people from the division were not going to give up. They pursued the couple to get the child back. Michele's father had the power to read minds, while his mother had the power to be invisible. Andrea managed to escape with Michele, but his wife was killed by the division. Andrea knew that Michele wasn't safe with him, so he left him in front of Giovanna's door after reading her mind and confirming she was a good person. Now the people from the division have discovered that the special child lives in the town, so they are kidnapping children and testing them to see if they are special. After hearing his true origin, Michele is in shock and hardly believes it. But Andrea says they don't have time to talk because a fisherman nearby thinks Andrea is suspicious and has called the police. Andrea gives Michele a suit that makes him invisible along with his body. Then he erases the fisherman's memory and leaves. Shortly after, the police arrive along with Basile. Giovanna reveals to him that Michele is adopted, which makes Basile believe he could be the special child. He offers to take Michele home. When they arrive home, Michele notices the wound on Basile's hand, which is the same place where his dog had bitten Stella's kidnapper. He looks at the man with suspicion and tries to escape, but it turns out Basile has locked all the doors and plans to kidnap him. Michele runs into a room and takes off his clothes, becoming invisible. He manages to escape while Basile follows him. When they are on the streets, Michele sees his bully, Ivan, on his bicycle. He sits behind him and asks him to leave quickly. A nervous Ivan agrees. When they reach a safe place, Michele reveals himself to Ivan and tells him about his classmates' kidnapping. Meanwhile, Stella and her friends see a ventilation shaft in the ceiling. They climb on top of each other, and Stella manages to get out. While hiding from the guards, she climbs a tower and reaches a searchlight. Believing her invisible friend is looking for her, she makes a smiling face with the light and shines it into the sky. Michele sees the smiling face and realizes that Stella is trying to signal them. He and Ivan follow the light, but as soon as they arrive, Stella is caught by the guards. Ivan causes an electrical malfunction using his paintball gun, while an invisible Michele enters. He sees Basile and his men guarding Giovanna and Andrea, who have teamed up to search for Michele. Then Ivan advances further and knocks out a guard using his gun. He threatens another guard to open the cell where Stella and the others are trapped. After getting them out and trapping the guards inside, Michele reveals himself to his friends, who are completely surprised. The kids want to flee, but Stella insists they save an old man she has seen locked in another room. She and Michele go to save the man, but Stella leads him towards the villains and points a gun at Michele. Suddenly, she falls unconscious, and the old man behind her starts talking. It turns out that he has the power of mind control. He has been controlling Basile and Stella to bring Michele to him. Then the man lowers a submarine and puts Michele and Stella inside. The men take them out to sea. Just at that moment, Andrea and Giovanna arrive at the place and meet Ivan. The building has been set to explode in a few seconds. They quickly save the two kidnapped children and Basile from inside. Andrea reads Basile's mind and realizes that someone was controlling them. They manage to move away quickly from the building, which explodes into pieces. Back in the submarine, Michele discovers his power of telekinesis and begins to wreck the place using his powers. He manages to kill the man and save himself and Stella. Finally, they return to the shore, where many people are waiting for them. Michele turns invisible in front of them, showing his power. Andrea tells Michele that they will have to erase everyone's memories because the division will come looking for them. Again, Michele agrees and kisses Stella for the last time. Andrea tells him he will return and leaves after erasing everyone's memories. Everyone returns to their normal life. The scene cuts to somewhere in Russia. Michele's mother, who was thought to be dead, was actually only injured in the confrontation. She defeated the division at the time and is now ruling it. In fact, it was she who sent those people to bring Michele back to her. The woman is now against all normal people who look at them as if they were monsters. Finally, a guard informs her that although they lost Michele, they have found his twin sister, Natasha. A clip from the past shows us that Andrea fled with two children that day. The movie ends when the guard tells Michele's mother that Natasha is somewhere in Morocco, suggesting a possible sequel. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel. Thanks for watching.